So usually when I do the commentaries on Buffy and/or Angel, I minimize spoilers as much as I can. I don't think this is really possible in this case. So fair warning, we're going to be diving fairly deep into Buffy seasons 1 to 5 and Angel seasons 1 to 4. I'm going to try to limit myself and not get into the endings of Buffy and Angel. So don't worry, that's totally safe and preserved. I'm not going to touch that. But Pluribus has got me really excited, and some Buffy fans have heard of it and gave it a try, and they're noticing some pretty interesting parallels between this and directly Angel, but Buffy also plays a role. And also, same thing with Pluribus. It will be very much minimized spoilers, but I have to talk about a few explicit things in episodes 1 and 2. So I've not completed the season. I don't have to. I know where this is going. And yes, I accidentally, some things were spoiled for me. So I know, yeah, I knew they were going to go down that direction. So let us get to it. So if you do want to be safe in terms of any spoilers from Pluribus, tread carefully. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. I have no spoiler reviews elsewhere. I'll put the links below. You can go there. So essentially the basic story is Carol Sturka is going through a lot of life changes, crises. She's a lesbian novelist who's just struggling. And then there's this very strange scientific crisis that coincides. It's kind of hard to describe. I guess the basic way to put it is there's this biological infection which creates a hive mind which infects the vast majority of human beings around the world, except for Carol and apparently 12 other people. So 13 people are immune, but everyone else is in this hive mind. But Angel season 4 was more radical than what they did in Pluribus, but it is very close. It was also structured very, very differently. Like what happened with Angel happened near the end of the season. So they only had a couple of episodes, and they were great. They were very good. So they did a great job, but it's kind of a final twist part of the story because the setup was they were trying to prevent Jasmine from even coming into being. It didn't work. So she does, has a birth. But then it flips. So they were going to fight her, but apparently she is able to bring peace on Earth. And so they basically just worship her. However, of course, there's a twist. Namely, she has to kill a lot of human beings to, I guess, keep the power going. But it is true. It is real. It's not a bad peace. They do not have free will. They worship her, but everyone is at peace. There's no war. There's no conflict. Anyone who hears her message basically obeys her. There is one major exception, which they show as a final twist, but we'll put that aside. But nearly everyone on Earth is infected. There's actually a lot of controversies whether in Buffy were people affected. I'm not going to touch that. But I will touch one thing, that the way the hive mind operates is very similar to the first. I will leave it there, but it's very similar to a villain in Buffy's kind of rogue gallery. I'll just leave the comparison there. And so they're definitely doing things and touching on Buffy and Angel and Pluribus. It is slightly different, but it is shockingly similar. So there's no doubt in my mind Vince is basically borrowing, that's a nice word, stealing, whatever, stealing from Angel season 4. I guess the question is, did it work? Yes. So far, I think the story is being done very well, very powerful, and very funny. It's a very funny series. Very, very funny. However, as you know, Neo, with any praise must come some criticism. And again, I've not seen the entirety of season 1, but it's not too shocking, and you can guesstimate. There's a bit of a devil deal, right? There are differences. Jasmine is like an individual, right? She has a certain personality, certain aims and motives. She's not really a person. She's not human, but right. She has some personality. The hive mind doesn't seem to have that. It's right. It's very reminiscent of the Borg in Star Trek, right? It is just an entity, but it doesn't have any real individuality. Also, Jasmine was, again, not evil, but selfish, right? She had her own agenda. She is giving peace. It's not a lie. It is real peace, but there's a trade-off that you have to serve her. The hive mind is presenting itself as altruistic. It's not hurting anyone. So it wants these 13 people. And yes, I know some people probably don't. In the comment section, it's not 13. We're talking about the early part of the story. So it seems to just want the best for everyone. And these 13 people are just not in the collective. That's it. So they keep trying to persuade them to join this larger hive mind. And we have to talk about some explicit issues with the plot. So it was episode 2 where the hive mind actively serves these 13 people. If they want something, whatever it is, food, comfort, transportation, there you go. So at least at the beginning, it is totally benign. I mean, Jasmine, you could say the same thing, but, you can kind of tell something's not right. Something's not right. I think this is a fundamental dilemma that Pluribus has. And again, maybe this is just my psychology. With fantasy stories or fairy tales like Buffy and Angel, granted they're dark fantasies, dark fairy tales. Nevertheless, once we make that big leap, this is a fantasy world with slayers, demons, and vampires. We'll put aside that the rules don't really add up. They don't really have any coherence. Yeah, I've seen so many essays, people trying to explain the soul, the demon dynamic, and Buffy and Angel. None of them worked. This is just, the mythology itself really doesn't make sense. But that said, it's still very, very powerful. And the point is, once we grant this is a fantasy, a lot of problems and questions go away. So the obvious question would be, how powerful could Jasmine be? She just is able to touch people. Like, apparently, no one can really resist her, except a few people. Even those people, they're not really even trying. So it's an insane amount of power that she has. But this is a fantasy world, so could Jasmine do this? Apparently so. Apparently so. Yeah, with the hive mind, I do have a lot of questions like, this doesn't sound right. Because so far, Pluribus is not supernatural. This is meant to be a natural event. And again, it's a trade-off. So the dilemma Carol has is a human one. How, as just a very lone human woman, can she possibly face this like massive hive mind? How could you possibly win? But again, there is a payoff because there's no magical solution, right? There's a very clever way that they defeat Jasmine and Angel. I'm not going to go into it here. I'll do future videos on this because, yeah, the parallels are really crazy. They're really crazy. However, good or bad, I would say Joss is more consistent, not with demons and vampires, but ironically with cosmic entities. And if you know Joss Whedon, he's atheist. There, the cosmic entities in the mythology with the Buffy Angelverse are much more consistent. So the way they defeat Jasmine does involve magic, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels appropriate to the mythology that they have. And granted, it is only a few episodes, but they pack a lot in, but it's still very well paced. So for a story and mythology of that nature, Jasmine is not in the Angelverse that long, but she makes quite a big impact. And again, I'm very critical of that. When you just create a villain or antagonist and it's like, oh, they're here, now they magically literally go away. They literally go away because of the magic. But I'm pretty satisfied with season 4. It's gotten a lot of controversies, I think, because of external issues. But if you actually just watch the season, it is a roller coaster. And usually when shows try to do that, they go from choom, 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 it collapses. And a lot of people do think season 4 is the worst thing they've ever seen. But not for me. I mean, the final twists with Jasmine are so well executed. You're like, it is very frighteningly possible that Team Angel and Earth could fall under Jasmine's spell and just be forever in this collective. Forever. And they would not be able to escape. And it's pretty horrifying when you think about it. I'm going to be very curious where Pluribus ends up because, again, they don't have that resource. They can't just now, hey, she's Buffy too. She has a prophecy, right? They can't pull that card. So how are they even going to defeat the hive mind? Is it going to be defeated? Is Pluribus going to be going all the way with the Jasmine kind of Watchmen, Twilight Zone conclusion that no, the hive mind wins, and we're just going to witness the hive mind take over, and that is the story? I don't know. It's very curious. I guess we know that Carol will find a way to defeat the hive mind, but who knows? They may go all the way with it, and Carol too will succumb. Fingers crossed. She'll resist, but you can tell even she's being seduced a little bit, a little bit.